Perfect. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to be sharing some secrets, tips, and formulas from Tony Robbins' Ultimate Edge. And I've taken 20 hours of my studying. I've taken pages and pages of notes. I love these like spiral bound notebooks. And I'm a kinesthetic visual learner, so taking notes is really good for me. And for those of you who are, whether you're auditory, kinesthetic, or visual, I highly recommend taking notes today, watching the replay of this video. There's going to be some amazing nuggets. And Simone, welcome. Venice, welcome. So great to have you guys here.
Happy to be here.
Excellent. So what I was talking about before I started the recording, and a couple of people got here late, was there's been really powerful instruction and tips on what to do to make our marketing and build our businesses and make that more effective. And I know that not all of us have done all those things that we've done the training on. So I think there's, for myself and for all of us, there's something missing in understanding and managing our subconscious minds. And Tony Robbins is one of my favorite people to study and listen to as far as really creating lasting change, which is what we want. We need to have new thoughts, new actions, new results. That's what this is all about. One thing that he says is where focus goes, energy flows. And I love it. I love it when trainers make up little lines that are really powerful, that rhyme, that we can remember. Where focus goes, energy flows. And here, what are people talking about nowadays? In your phone calls, on the news, just day-to-day conversations. What are people talking about?
Stress.
What was that, Venice?
Stress.
Stress. And
How
stress
stressed
due to
they are.
what?
To what?
Stress due to what?
To COVID, to the fires, to the
riots, to the election.
Yes, thank you, Stacy and Venice. Exactly. And the news spends 95% of the time, in my opinion, on negative stuff. So we need to break society's habit of focusing on the negative. And it's really easy to do. We get something out of whatever behavior we take on. So I've noticed where, if something bad is going on in my life, I get people listening to me, giving me hugs, giving me attention. So we can get into that trap of perpetuating the negative to get attention or love. And so what we're going to talk about today with neuro associations is avoiding pain and gaining pleasure. Like that's how our brain works. And if we're not doing what we need to do to succeed, chances are we have a paradigm, we have a belief, or we've made a meaning around something that stops us from taking action. And it doesn't have to be necessarily logical, it could be subconscious. And so I think this work is really powerful in unearthing those things. So what we want to focus on, and we'll do an exercise later to really restart, reboot, and recapture with clear, compelling focus on what we want. Actually, why don't we do that now? So the exercise is simply write down 3 things that you really want.
3 things that what?
That we really want. And allow yourself to dream again. Get yourself in a childlike mind. And you can write down as many as you want, but think about let's just start with 3 areas: financial, things, personal development, and that can include health or body. And if you have 3 or 4 or 5, keep going. It can be in the area of finance, business, like I said. It could be things. It could be experiences like travel. It could be another way of giving or serving. It could be charity. It could be fun, music, learning. Something you've wanted since you were a little kid, but you didn't allow yourself to get it. All right, let's stop there. And my encouragement is to spend some time either this evening or the weekend as soon as possible, and keep going with that. Just go with your dreams. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about if it's possible or not. We'll get to that later. So the next step is pick 3 of those and write down next to it or under it, just highlight or circle 3 of them, and then write down why. Why do you want that? What's in it for you? What's in it for others? What's in it for society, your family? Mostly you. How will it make you feel? All right, great. So we've talked about focus, clear, compelling focus on what we want. And we picked a few of those, and we've added why we want it. The last piece is creating an action plan to get there. But before we do that, I'm going to do another exercise. We're going to do a little cleanup in our lives. So this is one of my favorite exercises of all time, and it really works. So this came from The Portable Coach by Thomas Leonard. And the exercise is called the 50 tolerations exercise. So human beings are incredible at tolerating pain, especially if it builds up slowly. It's like the frog in the warm water that gets boiled, slowly over time. It doesn't leap out. We're like that, whether it's with our relationships, with our business, with our health. Things just pile up slowly. And the bottom line is we don't have to put up with that. We're mad as hell and we don't have to put up with that anymore. You don't have to be mad as hell, but there are things that we're tolerating in our life. So the exercise is called 50 tolerations. And I've done this, I did it years ago, and I do it probably every year or every 2 years. So you don't have to write 50 tolerations right now, but start with 3 to 5 tolerations. And then your homework will be to flesh it out. So what's bugging you? What's like a little thorn in your side? What are you frustrated with? Annoyed with? Tired of? Does everybody have a good start? 3 to 5 things? And literally, once you get the flow going with your homework, you will come up with 50, I promise you. It actually gets pretty fun. And then the really fun part is, put this, either type it up or put it in a place like a special notebook where you can look at it every month. At first, you'll want to look at it every month or so, and then every quarter or every 6 months. But the fun part is when you identify these things and you realize that you don't have to put up with these things anymore. So there's goals and dreams, but there's also cleaning house. Get rid of the stuff that takes up negative energy or creates negative energy, whether it's really, heavy or not. Little things add up. And so the beautiful thing is crossing these things off as you get rid of them, but really writing them down and looking at them. This isn't an exercise in being negative. It's an exercise in getting rid of the negative. So sometimes we have to clean house, physically, literally, emotionally. I love this exercise.
Can I add to something to this, Jim?
Absolutely.
I've done divorce facilitation, grief facilitation, and all this, and there's an interesting exercise that I'm just realizing is kind of a barometer of understanding for us as individuals, and it kind of dovetails on your initial talk about how we are trained to think certain ways and not outside the box. And I've done an exercise before where I ask people to tell me all whether it's personality traits, tell me all your negative stuff. What's the bad stuff? Oh, I'm controlling, or I'm this, or I'm that. And I will watch the pens just going like mad, going down the paper. And I'm going, okay, well, now that we have that, now over here, I want you to list your gifts and your talents. And it's almost as if the deer in the headlight thing. Your brain doesn't go there. It's not allowed to go there. And where all of a sudden they realize, oh my gosh, I have 20 things that are negative about me, and I can only think of one that is a positive about me. And that in and of itself is just the barometer to say, that's how our mind is programmed. That's how we are trained to think.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really important addition. And I know I'm giving you guys a lot of homework, home play, home fun, whatever you want to call it. But these are foundational pieces. We're taking a little shack and now we're building a foundation for the house of your dreams. And so I would add to create a 50 grateful list. And if you can only come up with 1 or 2 things that you're grateful for or that are positive that you've accomplished, that you like about yourself, then ask your friends, because they will happily share those things with you. And oftentimes it's easier for other people to see your gifts, abilities, purpose, accomplishments. Our society is, some people are narcissistic and can brag all they want, but most of us are really trained to not say positive things about ourselves. So, Corinne, that's really, really important and valuable. Thank you. All right. So the next thing we have, we've talked about goals before. Today we talked about some dreams. What do we really want? Clear and compelling. The next step is to add some timelines to those, and just make it really simple. This doesn't have to be just what do you want to get done in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. So let's keep it really simple. We also talked about where focus goes, energy flows, and there's so much negativity in humanity and the way our brains are wired, and so what's something we can do when we make a plan and we're taking action. We're going to want to be in a positive state. That doesn't mean if you're not like feeling totally gleeful that you don't take action. But I highly recommend not taking action when you're really like pissed off or frustrated or a strong negative emotion. So the saying that goes with that is a checkup from the neck up. So what are you thinking? How do you feel? And maybe feelings can be visceral, like from the waist up, but that doesn't rhyme. It does. Check up from the waist up. But, so what are some negative emotions? What are some positive emotions? And how can you switch that? One of my favorite exercises is taking pain and frustration and turning it into hunger, turning it into motivation. One way to do that we've talked about is with powerful questions. So if you're feeling frustrated and you're focusing on why you can't do something or why it won't work or whatever, you turn that into a powerful question by saying, how can I make this work? How can I get what I want? Who can help me? What else can I try? The powerful questions it's an incredible tool. I use that a lot in my coaching. The other thing that you can do is be aware of your body position. So if you're slumped down or shoulders are down or neck, yeah, right, Venice. Take some deep breaths, fill up your lungs, put your shoulders back, chest up, do a victory position. Like viscerally and physically, we can change our mental state. And I'm going through a lot of this stuff, and it may seem weird. Tony does this breathing where he goes, breathe in 4 times and breathe out 4 times. He does that like 10 times. So and he does incantations along with it sometimes where he says, every day in every way, I'm getting stronger and stronger. So that can be emotionally, it can be physically, it can be, actual muscle strength, So you can make up something that goes along with that and really shift our moods. And I will tell you that getting from below the line of emotions in the negative emotions to the positive ones makes everything that we do much more creative, more fun. It's more fun for other people, and the results come faster.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
So here we could take a lesson from Charlie Brown. So Charlie Brown says to enjoy being depressed, you have to stand like this. Because if you're up like this, you just can't enjoy being depressed.
Oh, that was perfect.
Yeah, love it.
That was perfect. And we're going to do, gosh, now I'm going to go into neuro associations. Neuro associations are what drives us. It's what creates our actions or lack of actions and our results. It's like pure and simple. This is how we're wired. So human beings are wired to avoid pain or the stick or gain pleasure, the proverbial carrot, or carrot cake if you like carrot cake. And an aside on this is, you know how we've talked about what problem do you solve, what pain do you relieve people in with our marketing, what's in it for them, what results, what benefits, what emotional shifts. This is the core of what makes marketing work. I'm using it today to get us into action and do the things on our plan that we need to do. And how do we gain access to this? I know that there's been areas of my life where for years I was working on it. You know, I would create a vision board. I would do affirmations. I would create an action plan. I would take action, and the results weren't coming. And I'm convinced, after decades of studying success, that it's our subconscious mind that's driving this. So what the heck? Let me just check. Okay, thanks. Just checking the chat real quick, make sure I'm not missing something. Thanks for you guys' feedback. And so the subconscious mind, how do you get access to that? It's like invisible, right? And how many people, just raise your hand if you've had areas of your life where you really wanted something and you haven't been able to get it yet?
Of course.
Come on, yeah. So this, thanks Stacy, got the thumbs up. And thanks everybody for being honest. So this is an exercise that helps unearth what's going on behind the scenes. So write down 3 actions that you're pretty sure if you take these actions, it'll help you move forward in your life, in your business, in your relationships. Just 3 things. What have you been putting off that you want to do or you think is a good idea to do?
So Jim, I'm going to share that one thing that I just did while we were on this call right now is because a lot of what the things that we're talking about, right? It's really about changing behavior and building new habits. And so I just put a daily reminder on my schedule because I want to build a new habit. And I just entitled it Positive Affirmations, right? So first thing in the morning, start the day, take, 10, 15 minutes just to give myself those positive affirmations and try to make it a habit, because I noticed that about myself, right? I can jot down all of these things that you're asking us to do today, but unless I can create habits out of some of these things, it's not going to become a reality for me. And so I've got to figure out, how do I change what I'm doing to instill that habit? What does it take? Like, is it I forget what it is, 3 months to actually turn something into a habit, or however many weeks it is, I don't recall. But that's really the key to driving lasting change.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. That's That's very helpful. And I use 45 days, but different studies, it's actually gone up and up over time. It seems like it used to be like 7 days, 10 days, 15 days, 30 days.
21 days, I think, is what it was, right? I think.
Yeah, NASA did some studies. Personally, 45 is, there's a point, uh, the first 2 or 3 weeks of a new habit, people are excited, motivated, but let's say it's like physical exercise, they might start getting tired, and then the voices in our body starts complaining, and week 4 and 5, most people quit. And so what I find, at least with my sports coaching, that 6 weeks of continuous training, and I'm guessing it works for all kinds of habits, it gets you beyond that point where you really do have to have the self-discipline and the streak I've talked about. How many days in a row do you do something? The streak really helps. Just start it really helps. And Stacy, what you just recommended, having some kind of reminder or putting it on your calendar. I have a reminder at 1 o'clock every day to breathe. Like seriously, I forget to take full breaths, and then at 3 o'clock I have a reminder to relax. So I consciously breathe and relax my body and kind of stop and take a look. Hey, am I working on the most important thing, or am I feeling happy? Just to kind of check in. At 6:30 in the morning, I start my morning ritual, and my phone says, love Jim. Maybe that sounds really weird, but it's about self-love. And so I do my gratitude journal, and I do my morning meditation, and I have my yummy mocha coffee. So, whatever your ritual is, it's a great way to start the day. And Stacy, you just added so much value with that comment. Appreciate it. So
And I think one other thing that dovetails on that with you, Stacy, and I know we've talked about that before, but we get up in the morning, it's, either we look to our calendar to tell us what it is we need to be doing. And like you were saying, Jim, in your meditation or in your morning, sort of getting it all together, if we sort of look to list 3 things that we want to get, 3 accomplishments that we'd like to have happen today, whether it's just changing an attitude of ourselves, whether it's, seeing everyone as an opportunity. I mean, make it bigger than just, gee, I need to close that deal today or whatever. It almost puts your brain like in the focus mode.
absolutely. Yeah, and if we have too many things, it just gets overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably how we should wrap up the call today is, action planning and prioritization, just briefly. But let's get back to the exercise. What are 3 things you've been putting off? And sometimes just start it works, but sometimes it just keeps getting put off and put off and put off. Or you dabble in it, you don't play full out, and you should be, or that's what it'll take to get you where you want to go. And this is myself included. So next to each of these things, or in the next spot on your page, write down, what's the pain? What's the pain of not doing it? Or actually, the first step is, what's the pain? What's the negative thought or negative emotion that's stopping you from doing it? What's the fear? And this is a great time to just be vulnerable. Don't let your ego step in. This happens to all of us, but really be honest with yourself. You don't have to share it with anybody.
Jim, I think there's something to add to this too, especially in these times. And I'm pretty sure that all of us that are on this call are people who want to get things done. And I'm finding with the people that I'm working with or that I'm friends with, that if we are that kind of person living in the place where we live right now, being okay with things not being okay or not being able to accomplish something, we have to sort of set it on the side and just sort of let it stew, is difficult for us and creates a mindset of failure or not being able to complete something. And I think that it's really important for us to realize that it's not necessarily us, but it's what's going on around us, that we have to be okay with this place of what I'm going to call limbo, or being in a holding pattern while things are happening around us.
Okay, that's a valid point. And what we're talking about is things that we can control. So there is acceptance of what's going on, and there's things out of our control. But what we're really talking about here is us.
Okay.
And things that we can do, or just even if it's yeah. And you'll see. I think that's a super valid point, but I want to just temper it with making sure that we're really living in our power, because it's so easy to slip into situational, oh, I'm not doing this because of X, when it's really more of it really boils down to pain, this avoid pain and gain pleasure. And what this exercise is about is identifying what's going on in our subconscious brain and what to do about it and how to change that subconscious patterning. So the next step is, what's the cost of not doing it? What is it costing you? Even if it's negative self-talk, or not feeling good about yourself, or not really living as powerfully as you want to, or having your mojo rock and roll. How does it affect you negatively financially? How does it affect family or those around you? Your business? So a quick note on the pain or the fear, the first step that we did. I want you to recognize that that's a point of view. It may not be the truth. Mm-hmm. And most likely it's not the truth. As we've talked about with that gremlin voice. So now, knowing that or just considering that it might not be true, how can we instill a new subconscious belief system? So write down, what's the gain? What's in it for you? What's the positives about doing it? Anybody need more time? You guys good? Obviously, you can do this in any area of your life. This is a really fantastic, powerful exercise. And I'm going to dovetail this and kind of a self-admission. I've had big dreams and goals for a lot of my life, and some of them I've made true. Like I did, getting on ski patrol as a mediocre skier was a huge challenge. I almost qualified for the Olympic trials and the marathon. I got a job at Genentech, which was the #1 biotech company in the world. Went to UC Davis. I've done a lot of great things, and I've failed. And what I've noticed is in the areas of life where I had the most pain is where I'm blocked now. And, a self-admission is in the area of love and relationships. I've been blocked. And in the area of, I'm fairly successful, but financially, I think for my intelligence, my capacities, how hard I work, I could be doing a lot better. And so I'm looking at what are the subconscious things. And so there's been deep pain. In 2005 to 2008, I lost $1.8 million. That was my whole life savings and accomplishment. And I retired early, and I was starting businesses and doing real estate investing, and things came crashing down, and it was a big blow to my ego. I thought I healed, and I thought I processed it well, but I think there's more for me to dig into and to open up. So that's the value of this exercise. So one thing I did, and I think it might be valuable for all of us, just for fun, we don't have to get super rich. This isn't always about money, but just as an exercise, write down, being rich means blank, and just stream of consciousness. Write down your thoughts. Could be positive, could be negative. Start with some of the negatives to help unearth and disappear some of those things that don't serve us anymore. Did you know any rich people growing up? Did your parents say anything to you about being rich? What does society say about rich people that you might have just taken on as a belief?
Mm-hmm.
I often talk about Mother Teresa as one of the wealthiest people on the planet. And that's logical, but what's going on? What's going on in your subconscious? What haven't you thought about for a while that could be stuck in there, running a little groove in your record, your neuronal record? And you can do this with love. You can do it with what else? What was I thinking of? Oh, sales. Sales is a good one to do this exercise with. And disappear some of the negativity that keeps us stuck. So thank you guys so much for playing along, being open-minded, doing these exercises. I think this is going to serve all of us in a really powerful way. So I'm excited to share this. So we are on a path to mastering our brains. We've written down some of the things that we really want. We're going to be practicing focusing on the positive, focusing on what we want. I was talking to a client yesterday, and he's trying to make a decision about his business, and a really important decision. It affects his family, his kids, the business, and there's all kinds of, we were coaching and doing, what are all the considerations? So political, environmental, cost of housing, et cetera, et cetera. And I asked him halfway through, as we're in the standard conversation, and halfway through I said, what do you really want? And he was stumped for a little bit. So I love that question. And when he thought about it, and when he really sat with that question, it became really clear. So Tony has an RPM. What is that? The rapid planning method. What else does RPM stand for? So, we all have all kinds of planning methods, but this breaks it down really simply. R for RPM, R stands for results. What do we really want? Clear, compelling, and time-based. The P is your big why. I know why doesn't start with P. And P is purpose. And I translate that into why. Why? What do you want? Why do you want it? Pretty simple so far, but really, really important. If you don't have the why, you're not going to be able to get through the tough times and take these actions that you need to take. And then the M is massive action plan. So I'm going to break down the massive action plan. There's really it's not super complex. I mean, you can do a Gantt chart or a project plan or a list of things to do, but it's really what are the most important things that you need to do to get to where you want to go. And then it's putting them in a sequential order. So 1, know your outcome. 2, create a plan. 3, take action. And an example of action, I'm just going to throw this out there as an example. If you haven't narrowed down your target market yet, you're going to probably have to take a lot more action to get the results that you want. So that's an example of sequencing. So defining your target market and then determining your message, your tactics. That's an example of sequencing. And sequencing in such a way that, Tony uses M for massive action plan. I'd rather use something like efficient action plan, effective, mostly only the really important things and not just being busy. And the other thing is to not put a bunch of pressure on ourselves. That's not what today is about. That's not what this whole thing is about. Yes, we're going to have some discipline. And yes, we're going to have some courage to overcome fears. And these exercises, what they're doing is they're changing our paradigms. They're changing the energy of activation so that it's easier to get into action faster. The other thing that will help us all get into action faster is not make it do or die. Marketing is an experiment. Business building, leadership. We're learning, we're growing. We're just trying shit. And I love the saying, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
I like that.
Right? Takes the pressure off, doesn't it? And get back into that childlike mind. Like, if you wanted to learn to ride a bike, you would do anything. It didn't matter how many times you fell down or skinned your knee or your elbow or whatever. You get right back on that thing and try it again and try a different way. Maybe instead of starting with your right foot, start with your left foot or, whatever. You'd be all wobbly. We're not going to be perfect at new stuff at first. So get rid of that perfectionism and get back in the go for it mind. So be flexible, open-minded, and then, stop. Check your results. Did that work? Can you tweak it? Can you change it? Not can you. How can you tweak it? How can you make it better? What to try next? So you get in this loop. Be flexible, open-minded, check results, try something else. Be flexible, open-minded, check results, try something else. And the key now we have this crystallized, clear, compelling goal, desire. So a dream with a deadline is a goal. So we have that. Now we're like, how do we get there? And one of the keys is staying focused on what you want and committed to what you want and knowing that it's possible. Did you guys know that Walt Disney was turned down by 301 banks?
Yeah.
It was the 302nd bank that allowed Disneyland to become reality. I mean, what a visionary guy. And I was watching this series. It's basically the history of country music. And back in the day, the way musicians, made it was they went from radio station to radio station to radio station. And these guys, every single one, Johnny Cash, you name the star that, people think, oh, they were just lucky or they have a great voice or blah, blah, blah. There's a bazillion people that have great voices and are good musicians. A bazillion. That's a technical term. But it's the people that went from radio station to radio station and radio station and got turned down and got back up and kept going that made it. Not all of them, but we can achieve our goals and our dreams. Now, you know what's cool? And I'm going to end with this. What do you guys think makes human beings happy? Any ideas?
I can't speak for anyone else, but what makes me happy is helping others.
Great. What else lights you guys up?
Being able to feel good about yourself.
And what makes you feel good about yourself?
I think just like Venice is saying, whether it's helping people, whether it's helping someone to see that aha moment, or to put a smile on their face.
Excellent. So I think there's two pieces to it. Like, how does it feel when you're super busy and your results don't change? Let's say you exercise every day, you're eating healthy, and the scale stays the same, and your body, the way it looks and feels, doesn't change. That would suck, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're happy from growth, learning, and contribution. So the only thing that was missing was the growth and learning, and that's trying new things, trying on new thoughts, repatterning our brains, taking new action, gets us off the hamster wheel. I always like the visual of hamster wheels on the little rack, and you take the hamster wheel off that rack and put it on the ground, and that hamster takes off. So just a great visual. So being happy is about growth, learning, contribution, and what, like you guys said, helping others.